so let's start like this. So we'll start on the ground here. And if you'll face that way, sir, on your butt, please. Okay, so when we get into the crucifix, right? So the crucifix, and this is, in particular, this is a back crucifix, right? As opposed to a top or a front crucifix. So what's happening in this position, there's a few different things that we can do. We can go with the upper body portion, we can go seatbelt with arm connection here is, I think, optimal. I would call this the optimal position here. You can go just straight from the Kimura style position, like a T-Kimura position like this. And this is a little less optimal. Controlling the head gives you better access to control the shoulders. So I'm controlling this kata, this here, like the head and arm part, like that. As far as what the lower body is doing, I'm keeping my hips underneath his shoulders. I don't want him to slide too far out. I don't want him to bridge too far over or backflip or twist or turn or whatever. So it's important I control the whole shoulder carriage and the head. Right? As far as what my legs are doing to get the job done, I can either have this south side leg. I'm using his orientation. His head is north, his feet are south. The south side leg here could be hooking this way, or the north side leg. And a lot of that depends on your entries and your preferences and what options you have from each of these positions, right? Because some people are gonna be better from this style of position here. Some people are gonna be better from this. Okay? I'm gonna show some options from both, but for me personally, I'm gonna mainly focus on this leg hooking and then reinforced with the top leg. Okay? So there's limitations and there's attributes to both. So again, this is the position that we're trying to essentially like achieve whenever we're going to do this. So I'd like for you guys to just start out so we can get moving around and kind of get aware of the position and kind of just get our bodies acclimated a little bit. Start from here, and I want the person in my position, I just want to control this position. I want to mess with it a little bit, control it, and see what his reaction is going to be. As far as what Donnie's going to look to do, I want the person in his position, I want them, we're not going even 20%, but I want him exploring some different options as far as how he can kind of free up the movement, see if he can get some shoulder mobility back, see if he can slip away from me, if he can bridge over, if he can twist or turn away or toward me, right? So we're not, again, this is not terribly competitive. This is just kind of moving around, exploring for both of our sakes, okay? Make sense? All right, let's do it. It's on for 3, right? Not 2. Or
Sometimes 4.
Sometimes 4, right? Okay. We'll do 1, 2, 3, and then clap like that. Or we can do 3, 2, 1. I thought about messing with 3, 2, 1. I don't know if I have the guts to do it yet, but I don't know if I want to start kicking it off at a seminar for the first time.
You're with the right group.
Like you're just getting a block.
Yeah. That's the mind fake right there. So all right, 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, I just kind of want to see what you guys already feel like with the position and everything, and just so we're getting to the position and understand how to kind of orient ourselves once we wind up. So let's talk about entries to begin with. First thing, we're going to look at some of the, probably the most common way that you're going to see people get into the Kimura position. Definitely not the only way. It can materialize a lot of different ways, and we're going to look at several. I want to start with common and then kind of move to a little less common, right? So, can you turn that way up? Turtle, please. Turtle. Yeah. Perfect. Cool. All right. So, if you need to come this way, then go for it. So, what we're going to do here is first we're going to ride in this turtle position. Different ways we can ride turtle for different purposes. If I've made it all the way around him, and we're going to look at it from front orientation as well as back orientation, we're going to start from here. This is one where maybe the reason that I would elect for Crucifix 1, because I'm good at it, if that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case, I'm saying if that's the case that I'm good at Crucifix, or maybe he's denying me the hooks that I need to be able to successfully take his back in another method, right? So what I'm looking to do is, whenever he's in this turtle position here, and depending on the height that he's building and everything else, we're gonna assume he's got a tight turtle position to begin with. So his elbows are gonna be tucked, and so what I'm looking for is this triangular shape between armpit, hip, and the knee-elbow connection, right? So that appears on either side whenever he's in this position. It's just the structure of it. And in that position, I want to insert my knee in that pocket right there, high up on his thigh. Because if I insert my knee high up on his thigh, I want to kind of baseball slide down his quad like that to make his arm protrude forward. So we get here, I push my knee inside like this, and I drive that knee, or that arm open rather, like this, okay? From this position now, I'm keeping my chest here. I don't want to slide and recline because then I'm going to lose my balance, and if he postures or rolls, I'm going to fall over, right? So I'm keeping kind of hovering my chest over his back in this position. As far as what this arm is doing, it's gonna be under his body somehow. It's not the most important detail, as long as it's not in so far that he can start to like Peterson or something like that. So whenever this protrudes forward, my heel now is gonna try to find my knee this way. And then now that I've kind of wrapped that arm, I'm gonna scrape that arm out this direction. And I'm gonna pinch my knees around here this way, okay? From this position here now, right, I'm gonna establish my seatbelt this way, right? And I would like to try to get a hold of his arm here, okay? Now, again, I'm kinda want him to tell me how he wants me to get into the position. Just from this position, we can already start attacking, especially if we're using the gi, because we have collar style chokes like this. I can attack the arm and whatever, but I wanna get to that back crucifix. So what we're gonna look at from here as far as transitions go, I wanna get control on his arm. I think that combo grip of forearm wrist here like this, so I can kind of tuck it in nice and tight. And then from this position, I can start to like sit back. I can weave here, and sometimes we can sit back into the position here, okay? So this is an option, right? Sometimes, however, right? Try to catch you guys before you all move. If we get here like that, protrude that arm forward, I capture. Sometimes though, when I capture, it really kind of dips that shoulder. And so it might be more efficient and effective if we roll over instead, right? So sometimes that's the method that is more effective. So keeping here with his arm trapped essentially with my front leg, like this, I'm gonna push off of my foot and I wanna roll. I'm gonna tuck my head over this direction. So now we roll into this position here. We've got the back crucifix. Once we get here, it's worth taking that little extra second to hip out a bit. That's gonna get me a little better chest to back connection, and that's important anytime that you're securing the back, and the crucifix is no different, right? So I have that ramp. I don't wanna scoot out so far that it allows him to slide off, but I don't wanna stay under so much that it allows him to bridge effectively, okay? So then we wind up in this position. So from there, we have both a pulling method into the position, internal, or a diving over method, okay? Any questions about either of those two? All right, let's mess with those a few hundred times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's look at a variation on this. Let me make some more like specifications about this. And these are not set in stone. These are opinions, but that's all the technique really is. The technique is just an opinion, right? So it should be a good opinion. It should be an educated opinion, but it's still just an opinion. So whenever we get into this position, so I'm gonna drive my knee inside, I'm gonna expose that arm, I'm gonna capture, right? So in this case, the orientation of his arm is branch up. So this would be more like an Americana style, like branch up. It may go straight, it may even curl back, right? I may get here, capture the arm, and intentionally try to pass it off to my mat. Again, preference more than just about anything else, but he has influence over that as well. Regardless, whenever we get in this position, if he goes branch up more, so I've got this capture with my front leg, my knees are pinched, and it's branch up, I could dive over from here, right? I could roll him forward, which we'll talk about in just a second, but this is the one where I feel like I'm gonna have a better opportunity to pull back, right? Because I can fold this leg underneath, set my butt down, and I have a little bit more base and pressure to pull back. Versus if he's branched down here, that might be a little more awkward for me to do that. So this is where I would go in this direction or that direction. Let's talk about why those two. But if I am gonna dive over that direction here, I would like to really tuck his elbow deep. When you tuck his elbow deep, his shoulder is going past his elbow, so that means he's already inclined to fall that direction. So now he just needs a little bit of help from me, right? So I'm gonna drive off of my leg, dive over, and it's important that I face the same direction as he does, right? Now, if I don't do that, right? If, say like I have I feel solid with my connection here, and I feel confident that my shoulder can pressure his head down, like I'm trying to tuck his nose into his belly button, I can actually take him more straight over, which would look a little bit more like this way here, okay? So that's another option as well. But again, like, you're gonna have to get there and really feel the opportunity for that, right? I want to make sure that things are moving as efficiently as possible, because I don't want to hit that wall, right? I don't want to hit like that big speed bump, because the worst part about that is that now I've already played that card, and now he kind of already knows I might try to attempt that. So again, I can either sit back, dive laterally across his shoulders, or take him more forward, right? There are prerequisites and requirements that don't necessarily have to be there, but they're going to make it more efficient or less efficient if they are or aren't. Okay, does that make sense? Yep. So, Cliff's notes, we go here, I capture. I'd like to get this 2-on-1 control. I'd like to tuck that elbow almost regardless. If he's branched down like this, then that's the time that I would probably dive this way or this way, okay? And again, this is when, if I'm gonna take him more forward, again, there's benefit to it. We talked about this yesterday. That's kind of the back take that we looked at. But I really need to tuck his head with my shoulder, right? You don't wanna like, I prefer not to break his neck if it's, especially if it's just like an open mat or something, right?
The one he's rolling over the head sideways, your neck is in danger. The one where you're rolling, so yeah. You just did it to me, so.
Yeah, just really make sure that you help him, you let him and help him tuck your head down on this one, right? But it shouldn't, if I do it well, it shouldn't really be that much of an issue, because this guy's probably not very likely gonna be looking up like this whenever I'm on his back belly, right? Maybe if he's trying to like sit up in posture, but with this much weight, it's less likely. So we go here, that way, okay? Make sense? Make sense? Okay. So, yeah, just, again, safety issue. Make sure that like when you're here and you feel this person setting all this up, that you're not like doing this. So when they go to roll, you face plant and snap your head. Okay? Yes, sir.
It's like safety, guys. It's like carrying a handgun or anything. If you know your opponent's not in position, then you need to like look out for their safety when you're doing a technique. And because they're jamming so good over there, you think we can move it down a couple feet? I feel like it would help with sound.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go down here.
Let's move down here.
So the to that point, I think whenever I talk about like efficiency and appropriateness, it's not just, obviously this is important. That's what techniques are for, right? Is efficiency. Otherwise, just be bigger and stronger and faster than everybody you fight. Right? That's number one. Only fight weaker, smaller, slower people. Like that's number one. But the technique should help with that. Right? The technique should help with if there is a size and strength disparity, then that's what that's for. So to that point, I don't want to just get in my head, hey, I want to do this thing, right? Because that's where a lot of mistakes are going to be made. If I go out and I think, oh, I want to hit this technique, I'm probably going to have a hard time finding that technique because I'm going to be missing a lot of other opportunities. If he doesn't specifically give me the opportunity, or I specifically don't set that up the proper way, and I don't have the opportunity, I'm going to have to really force that thing to work, right? And again, whenever you start to force something to work instead of using the most efficient method possible, it's like trying to jam that square peg into a round hole. We don't want to do that, right?
Kind of take what you're given, not always what you want.
That's right. Yeah. You get what you get, and you, what's it?
Don't try to fit.
And you don't, yeah, there you go. I knew a mom would know the rest of it. Yeah. All right, cool. Does this make sense? Let's try all three directions. That way. Okay, ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so questions about that stuff up in here so far? Everybody feeling comfortable, at least to some degree, with each of those options? Yeah. Okay. So now I want to talk about different entries. So this is going to seem a little disparate and disconnected to begin with, but the thing is, like, once we get into the position, there's not like a lot of movement to execute some of these submissions. They're because it's a target-rich environment. It's great. But I figure by giving it a few alternating entries to it, then whenever we're going over the submissions, each time you can practice the new entry, a different entry every time. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have any stuff like each of our time?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah. Once we get past these entry points, then we'll start looking at submissions with the lower body and the upper body, and then also some control details too, like if he's sliding away or if he's bridging or whatever. But let's talk about the entries just a little bit more to begin with. The next one we'll look at from here is, let's look at a top method. Because most of the time, like I said, this one, like entering from turtle, if like overwhelmingly, if you talk about Crucifix, that's the entry that everybody is gonna show. Anybody that even plays Crucifix, like, oh yeah, this is how you get into it. But there's a lot of different ways to get into it. So I wanna look at one from top side. So if you're on bottom side here. So we're gonna start from this position now, side control, right? And what I wanna look to do from here first, I wanna isolate each of his arms, right? When we get in position, so I'm going from like chest to chest connection here like this, right? So, if from here, I need to first, I'm gonna isolate the near side arm and then the far side arm, right? How do we do that? Well, you can just teleport there, right? Just be like, okay, I got it isolated, great, right? So if that's the case, then we just have to worry about this one. If you need some strategies of how to isolate that arm, then one that I think is fairly effective from here, let's get rid of this for just a second. He's gonna be framing in my hip. Most everybody will be framing in the hip. This is kind of standard, right? So I'm gonna go from this kind of cross-face position. I've got my underhook on the far side. I'm underneath his head. And I wanna take this knee, right? And I wanna beat this frame. So I'm gonna take my knee to his hip. So we're gonna go for a hip switch. I'm not changing my upper body orientation. I'm just going for this hip switch here. And I'm gonna scrape my knee from his hip up underneath that arm here, this way. So it slides under. Now, I don't wanna leave that amount of space because he'll be able to slip his elbow in. So once I get to that position, I'm gonna set my weight back and I wanna scrape him up and tighten that space. So now it's a little tighter, it's a little harder for him to get that arm back inside. Right? Now, again, I'm remove this arm for two reasons. One, so that you could see that easier, and two, so it didn't block my microphone I'm wearing right now. If we want to...
No, you with the FBI or something?
Yeah, I'm wired it all the time. So, if we want to isolate this arm from here, then a method that I think is pretty good for doing that is I want to take this one up and through here. If there's no space, then I'm going to do like that. You ever see those Shaolin monks that like they would stick the spear here and they would like bend the staff of the pole? Well, that's what I think about when I'm doing this. I'm like driving here like this. So that's going to make him drive harder here and give me just enough space to slide that arm inside. And then I want to gable or S grip and drive that arm down a little tighter like this, okay? So I'm trying to remove that frame. I'm doing a little bit of a crank on his neck, but mostly I'm just trying to get that arm off of my neck here. Now this hand here, I want to punch inside his armpit. Let's turn this way, please. I want to punch this hand here to the floor and start picking him up on me. Good? Yep. Okay. I'm picking him up on his side. Be cognizant of the fact that this is stressful on your neck and your shoulders, all right? I'm very cognizant of that with my neck and shoulders, so just be aware. We get here, so then once I have this space like this, I'm gonna step my leg over and through to this position, okay? Right? Now, there's a little gap right here, and just like we were making the heel come to touch the knee on the turtle position, I'm gonna slide my knee under to here, and now we're back here in this position, okay? It's illegal in most competition circles, depending on the competition, but still a submission if I want to pull his ear toward my chest right now, okay? The way I would say to do that is go high up on the crown of his head, not here. He's strong at his neck, right? It's like Muay Thai. If you're in a Muay Thai clinch, you don't go around the neck.
Is there even a name on that submission or just a neck crank?
I don't know, it's just neck crank, yeah. I'm sure there's some colorful name out there somewhere for it, but not sure. But I would go palm facing away, back of the knuckles, and S grip high up on the crown of his head, pull his ear to your shoulder that way. If he's not dead by that point, or tapping, preferably tapping before death, then you can arch your hips into it and make extra pressure, right? Again, illegal in most circles, usually rules against it in most training environments. I don't know how you guys do it here. Just be cognizant, careful about it, okay? All right, so again, on this one, we're going from side, knee touches his hip, scrapes up, scoop him up underneath you, like this. My hand's gonna punch through here. I'm gonna connect the two hands, drive his tricep toward the ground to clear, okay? Now my hand that's underneath his head is gonna punch through, right? Again, be careful with your partners. Don't break your playthings. Punch my knuckles to the floor, scrape them up on the side here, right? If there is clearance from here, I'm gonna step through. That heel's gonna come back, and my knee is gonna pop right through that little pocket of space right here, okay? Got this. If from here, like, well, you can choke, maybe, it's kind of awkward angle. If you just wanna go back to the regular Kimura because you don't wanna break his neck, then from here, pass it around. He's not gonna argue with you too much if you just wanna get back here. Okay? Make sense? Yep. Questions? Let's try it, 1, 2, 3. And you got like small hypermobile flexibility over here and not exactly that over here, you know? So it's yeah. And that, I'm not saying one's better or anything inherently than the other. It's just, it's different, you know? So, but the thing is, there's no real, I mean, there may be certain moves in jiu-jitsu that like, or in grappling and fighting or anything like that 95% of the people can do. There's gonna be some that 5% of the people that can do, you know? So, but I think that it's interesting though, because sometimes you don't know those things exist until you come across them. And so sometimes you discover this move and it's like, oh, that's perfectly catered for me, for my build, for my flexibility, or for my whatever. And I think that's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu, because now, having said that, most moves can be modified to an extent, right? But jiu-jitsu is not for everyone, no matter what Gracie Baja says. It's not for everyone. It's like some people are gonna have a really hard time with most of the moves. So you're gonna have to make modification. And then it becomes like the ship of Theseus. It's like, how many parts of this boat can you replace until it's a whole new vessel, right? So it's a whole new technique now, like catered for me, because I can't do it the way that it was taught to me. And I like to make concessions like that. It's not always like the happiest thing to tell somebody. It's like, dude, this is just not your move, you know? This is just not your position. You're not gonna hit this. Like, it's not for you. This requires you to have like really flexible hips. It requires you to have really flexible shoulders, whatever. And then the more depressing part of it, I promise I'll get back to a high note in a minute, but the more depressing part is as you get older and you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15, 20, 30 years and your body's falling apart and you got compressed discs in your neck and your shoulders are jacked and your knee is shredded and this and that. Now you're doing this like handy-capable jiu-jitsu variation that, you know, you didn't start out doing, you know? But I think if you keep the right kind of mindset to it, that can be kind of the fun part of the journey, you know? As long as you're not trying to actively compete the same way, you know? You have to make certain concessions. And you have to kind of be open to that, because time, you can't escape that, you know? So, that didn't end on a high note like I hoped it would. But let's get back to Crucifix stuff. Questions about this entry for anybody? Like, it's reasonably trying to get there to some extent? Yeah?
Can I see you do
Yes.
the rolling one? I have a habit of like, and I still did it, but I was post on the hand when I jump shoulder roll.
Yeah.
You're against that totally. If you like this thing, if you push off your toes more, or
I don't think it's inherently bad. Like, you can get away with it and still maintain control. Yeah, especially if you've got that really winged in, you know what I mean? Here, Donnie, can I borrow you for a second? Yeah, like, because like I get it, because like I've gone for it before and just like spiked my head on the ground and it sucks. So, but I think that what I would say, yeah, is this is a better time to do it than if he's branch up or straight, because that's going to be a little harder sometimes to initiate the roll. The other thing too is I've really got to tuck that elbow way in there, right? Because now he's already wanting to go that direction. So, and if I'm keeping this capture with my rear leg, then I'm going to push off of my lead leg.
I'm kind of attacking it with the arms on the other side of the leg.
Possibly,
And that's probably why I post
Yeah.
roll. I still pull it off, but it's probably because the arms the other way.
Yeah, like from right here, like this leg is a little more free. So I can hit a little smoother without having to go over my head. But, you know, it's the other aspect of it too, though, is like I can probably maintain good enough control. Like if I get this tucked really well, I can keep that false grip well enough to, if I need to put that hand down. I don't think it's wrong, and I don't, I think it's more optimal to have 2-on-1, obviously, but you know, I don't think it's wrong. Is that remotely address what you were telling me? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're good on these 2 entries that we looked at so far. 2-ish with subparts, okay? This one now. We're gonna look at one that I'm taking from Barrett Yoshida. Barrett Yoshida is the crucifix master. Like him and Marcelo Garcia at the top of the mountain. So there's worse people to imitate whenever you're looking for crucifix material. So this one is coming a little bit more from Barrett Yoshida by way of Jonathan Wilson. I like to try to give accreditation whenever I possibly can. So we're gonna look at this again from turtle, but this time we're gonna look at it more from straight on. So when we get to this position here, and he's in this turtle position. So what we're looking at now is I'm gonna get a double overwrap, right? So I'm gonna get wrapped around his trunk over his 2 arms. My chest is gonna be pretty deep down on his back from here. Now, the cool thing about this is that 1, I don't have to do like a go behind to get behind him to like this back quadrant of the turtle position. And 2, this could have happened off of a sprawl, this could have happened off of a scramble or whatever. He doesn't necessarily have to just be hyper defensive in this position. So if that's the case and I'm getting here, I'm gonna go elbow deep on one side, right? A little bit deeper on one side with my elbow than on the other, but I am grabbing around his trunk, around the rib cage. If I'm going right, this is my right arm. If I'm going right side a little deeper, my left arm is gonna block out to the outside of his arm on this side here, okay? So we're here, and I'm gonna drop that knee, block, and I wanna roll him to this position. Let's turn a little bit, okay? So we're gonna wind up here, right? Now at this position, once we get here, because even if I'm holding tight, he still is going to have some ability to roll, and I don't want that to necessarily happen, right? So you can look to control this in a few different ways. And one immediately is you can grab your thighs here, right? So once we grab and connect on the thighs here like this, right? This is kind of a save. This is kind of a checkpoint. So I roll him, and then I go connect on the thighs. At that point here now, I can slip around, and I can go here for this like reverse full Nelson, right? Does that make sense? Now, if we want to go into the crucifix from here, right? It's just about posting, lifting, trapping, that way. And then we're in a very similar position to where we were on the previous one with that neck crank kind of intact at this point, right? But now if I slip this one out, again, we can go back to the neck crank at that position here. Or if we want to transfer back, and this was the question about transferring from here to just a more standard crucifix, right? Then I'm going to take this hand that just came out of his back here. I want that one to go in, and then now I'm going to release this one. Because what's he going to do when I release that one? The natural motion of him being stretched this way, if I let it go, is going to go that way, right? So he'll pop back into place. But I think it's important to think about whenever we're moving segments of the body, if I have to move a post or if I have to move a connection, then I want to try to do it more. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can do it like Tarzan, or you can do it like monkey bars, okay? And you think about Tarzan, like swinging from this vine and then letting go, dive into that next one. That's not the most efficient way to do it, right? It's more like monkey bars. I want to have this connection, get that next grip, make sure that's solid before I let this one go. Boom, right? Make sure this is solid before I let this one go. It's been a while since I've done monkey bars, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Nah, I'm good. I don't want to make y'all feel bad. So when we get... You haven't done a YouTube video with doing some jiu-jitsu on a monkey bar. Not yet, no. No, I'm going to do the ramp wall first, and we'll get monkey bars. So when we get here like this, right? And again, this may have come off of him like diving in or something like that, and I sprawled or something like, or just off of a scramble. We get here, and again, one arm's going to be a little deeper around the waist for like a gut wrench, right? I'm connecting the 2 hands. My leg is going to come down and block here, and we're going to fall over to that side, right? Here, this way. Okay? Want to try to catch here just to save my progress, right? We'll go in for that full Nelson here this way, right? And then if I feel like I can get away with it at that point, if the opportunity is there, we'll go into that crucifix. We can, okay? I also show some other options that don't involve the crucifix from this position, because just from this reverse full Nelson, it's a pretty cool position. You can set up darces, anacondas, and stuff like that, right? Triangles, all kinds of cool stuff. Like you could go straight to a triangle off of this here, right? So, but this is a crucifix seminar, so we're using it to set up the crucifix. Questions about this one? Nope. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. So the order of operation matters. A lot of things, a lot of techniques, the order of operation is important. It's not as important as in like math class, but it's close, right? Like if you don't solve the order of operation right in math class, you're gonna get the wrong answer like every time. In Jiu-Jitsu, you can sometimes fudge the order of operation with techniques and still come out with a pretty good answer, right? So what am I talking about? When we get here, if I get that trunk grab, we fall over, we've still got this, and we try to capture the arm still wrapped around the torso, the guy's got too much shoulder rotation still intact. So he's gonna be able to slip his arm, it's gonna feel funky, you're gonna get in your own way. So at least on the roll, when you roll the guy over, go to the full Nelson first, then capture the arm. You don't have to do the thigh grab. You can. I like it because it's a pit stop. It gives me...
Are you doing like that full Nelson to just adjust your hip out a little more?
It's to do that, but it's also to gain control over the shoulder carriage better, right? Oh, here, Don, can I borrow you? So like, say I don't do it. Say I do it out of order, right? So we go here, I roll over, and from right here, I try to capture. That's hard, even if I can get it. Look how free his left arm is now. Yeah, so he can reach to his right with his left arm. So like, yeah, and now, yeah, so it's a little hard. Versus if I go here, the shoulders are already isolated. So now whenever I do go to capture this one, he's already stuck a little bit better. And then if I need to make the transfer of getting this arm out, and I want to get the head and arm control differently, right? Then now this one can fall across, let this one go and shoot, right? Does that make sense? As far as the thigh grab, I like it. Doesn't mean you have to, right? Doesn't mean it has to make any sense. I find it live that if I don't do this a lot of the time, and I think I'm gonna try to go straight into the full Nelson, and his head is too tight, or it's just that it's not space or something, then I might be late, or I might screw up the whole position. So I like that, but if this is uncomfortable, but you still would like a pit stop, instead of going to your own thighs, go to his own biceps here, this way. Does that make sense? So we roll through, boom, straight to his biceps, then find the full Nelson, okay? But I would at least say get control over the shoulder carriage with that full Nelson before you go into it. Any issues with it that doesn't help with? No? All right. Let's talk about submissions. And again, like to structure this out, what I would suggest as a practice, just a suggestion, you don't have to do it. You don't have to listen to anything I say if you don't want to. But I would say each time you're going to practice some of these submissions that we're about to work on, look at going in with a variety of these entry points, right? So maybe this time it's my turn, I'm gonna go in and do the submission that Eli just showed. Well, maybe I'll use that side control entry. Now maybe I'll use the diving over from turtle. Maybe I'll use the pullback from turtle. Maybe I'll use this high ground entry, right? So just so you get a variety, and that way you're building in repetitions in a progression of a linear fashion, and so you're building in the kind of this, like an algorithm to it, right?
Can I just see the bicep checkpoint like
No.
you were just talking about?
Nope, we already showed it. Yeah, yeah, so, yes. Kind of, let me get a uki here. Can I borrow you, sir? So when we get here, here's turtle. Let's go turtle. Yep. So we go here. I roll him over. Oh, this is the bicep control. Yeah. Just mainly so that I try to prevent him from. The thing I will say that the benefit of the bicep control, one, it might be more comfortable than the thigh grab. And for a checkpoint, but also what it's doing essentially is it's spring loading him. So it's like if I put more tension here, I might put more tension here so that whenever I let go and he shoots across, then I can lock up a darce, right? Or vice versa on the other side.
Can we see that? Can we see the darce, how you transition?
Yep. You throwing me all off, Jason, but it's, well, I'll do it though. I'll do it. So like if we're here and we go to here this way, right? So say that like from here, I'm pulling this side, right? But he leads the dance. He always has to kind of lead the dance, right? So say that I feel he's more inclined to turn toward his right. So I'm gonna offer him resistance here, but it's like tug of war and letting go of the rope, right? So I feel him wanting to go that side. He goes, boom, and then that way, now we can start shooting over this way. You see what I mean? So now I can start locking up that darce like that. right? Theoretically. The Darce is it is a technique that benefits long arm people, right? It just is what it is. That's why you look at the best Darce chokers in the world and Rutolos, they're built like orangutans, you know, like they got these crazy, or spiders. If a spider, it's a spider monkey. I guess that's, yeah, that'd be it. So what are we talking about? Submissions. Yes, yeah. So let's go, we're getting into this crucifix now. So we're just gonna teleport there, but again, you use a variety of different entry points. So if we wind up in this position, and the one that I'm taking it from to begin with, first thing that I'm looking at are south side, or like leg submissions, okay? And the way that I like to approach this, if I'm attacking his arm with my legs on the south side, I want to look at rotational versus linear submissions. So we're going to go branch up like an Americana, branch down like a Kimura, and then straight out like a Urigeshi, or actually be like a, what would it be? Ashigatami, is what that would be. So when we get here, one of the first immediate ones, regardless of which leg is over, is if his arm is straight, right? So like if his arm is straight or straight-ish, then this bottom leg is coming through right now, which I think is, if I'm gonna attack his arm with my legs, this south side leg coming up through offers me more opportunities. And this is why. Because if his arm is straight-ish, I'm gonna take my other leg over until I find his wrist between my two ankles, right? So right now, my thigh is coming under his bicep, my shin and calf is coming over his forearm. So if I step over, I know that his wrist, without even looking at it, his wrist is between my two ankles. So that means if I curl my heels back toward my butt, and then I put my heel on the floor and then start lifting my hip into his elbow, yeah, then I'm gonna get that. Sorry, I wasn't trying to blow in your ear, it was a mosquito. So we get here, and then I've got that straight arm bar off of that, potentially. If he doesn't like how that feels for some reason, he may go branch up or branch down. Branch up is gonna be more available because of how I've got my legs crossed. When I feel that happening, I like to go false, like try to get the false grip here on the wrist so that I have this hand available to grab his wrist. Since he's given it to me anyway, I wanna secure it. I'm loosening this leg to pull it tighter here, and then I wanna clamp to where his wrist is behind my top knee pit, like that, right? At that point, I squeeze the knees together and I try to turn my hips up while keeping his head compressed down. Yeah. For more of a shoulder lock. And there is some tension on it too. It's almost like a forearm slicer, not necessarily bicep slicer, but forearm slicer, especially depending on how tight you pull this immediately, right? So we can go in here. Well, if it's not getting that and you don't like your partner, then just go wrist lock, okay? So, so then that's straight and branch up, but what if he goes branch down? Now, branch down is tricky because you don't have, in this position, without making some modification, you don't have the ability to rotate enough to get the Kimura. Or do you? I don't like to say I invented things, but I've never seen anybody do this, and I figured it out on my own, so I'm sharing it with you guys, and it's my favorite submission from here. And I keep his wrist tucked behind my bottom knee pit, and I take this foot and scoop it under his bicep and put it on my own thigh. Here. Now, I can get it. I don't have to have the same rotation. So I'm withdrawing my right leg under and driving my knee toward his belly button that way, okay? So again, first thing, I catch his wrist between my ankles, retract them toward my butt, heel to the floor, hips in for the straight arm. He goes branch up, I grab. Again, make sure you're securing this, right? I would say go to the blade of the hand. The wrist is not gonna be as good, the blade is better, right? I pull this nice and tight, pinch it, his wrist behind my top knee, right? Go back, rotate that for Americana. He goes branch down, boom, here. Again, pinch the wrist in the knee pit. My foot comes back and crawls underneath this way, okay? Unless you have, it's easier when you have scrawny thighs like I do. This is exclusively why I skip leg day at the gym, so that I can do submissions like this. Otherwise, I would have massive quads. So if we get here this way, again, retracting my right leg, it's not funny, and then driving my knee toward the belly button that way, okay? You guys see them? All right, questions? Straight, branch up, branch down. Whenever there's a difficulty trying to finish these, we feel like it's all about the legs and association with the arms. A lot of the time, it's more about what my torso and even my hips behind them, supporting them, that's what they're doing. You know, that's more of it. Because I start to get, it's easy to get target fixated whenever I'm here and I'm trying to like adjust down here like that. And in the meantime, I'm losing attention up here and they're starting to kind of slide or drift out that way or bridge or rotate or something like that. So it's important that even, and again, this is something that it's like you're cooking different components. And so like, you know, I'm focused on this while this stuff is on the back burner, but eventually you want to bring this all together. So, you know, when you get here, I want to make sure that I'm not too flat on my back. I'm not too up on my side to where he's sliding off of me. I'm just got to find that Goldilocks zone where I've got that nice ramp here like this. I'm isolating the head and the arm on this side, controlling the shoulder, keeping strong chest to back connection, and then still allowing myself the mobility and the flexibility to be able to attack the arm with the legs. And again, these are definitely not one size fits all. From my experience and from what I've seen and what I've experienced personally, I think that in order of highest to lowest percentage, whatever that means, the Americana would probably be one of the lower percentage. The straight arm is the highest percentage. The Kimura is a little more specialized, so I would put it in a lower percentage category, but if it fits your body, it becomes a pretty high percentage. For me, like if I get there, then that Kimura variation, because I did it specifically to fit my needs, that's a higher percentage one for me if I can get to that position. But again, when you start using terms like high percentage, low percentage, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Like you'll find people that specialize in the weirdest moves. You know, like think about if anybody knows who Ben Eddy is. So Ben Eddy is 10th Planet Black Belt, very, very good guy. He's a phenomenal competitor. One of his moves that he hits super consistently, a very high percentage move for him, is the Hindulatine. Most people can't even get there. Most people can't figure it out. Most people don't have the flexibility. Most people definitely can't functionalize it at the high levels that he can. So what does that even mean? So I think that when people are using those, when I try to use those terms, I try to make sure that I put the caveat on it that high percentage, low percentage means from a strictly mechanical standpoint, how much flexibility does this require? What's the timing? What's the window of opportunity that this is happening within? So I put these different metrics on it so that I can kind of quantify what exactly those kind of terms mean, so it's not just some kind of ethereal thing out here, right? Because I don't, personally, I don't want to come across as saying that mistaking the fact that I can do something or can't do something means that it's like universally able or unable for most people to do. So that tangent aside, any other questions about the arm submissions from here? No, okay. Let's talk about the upper body submissions. So I'm isolating, let's see, where's Donnie Cambardi with you, sir? When we get to this position here, and again, like I've got him isolated, whether it's the top arm or the top leg or bottom leg. Again, I think that bringing the bottom leg on top first, so under and over that way, and then reinforcing with the top in this orientation gives me more submission opportunity with my legs versus his arm. If it's the other way around from here, I still have access to the straight arm. The Americana, not really there at all. The Kimura, it's not really there either, right? It's just those are a little more awkward from there. So now the benefit though of this orientation like this here, what I would say is we do have access to, I'll throw this one out before we start talking about the upper body and the chokes and stuff, because it's kind of a funky one. So two things that I'll throw out for now. If I want to still do the Kimura in a different way, right? We can look at it this way. And this will be a little bit more like a reverse Omoplata than anything. So if he's going branch down, then I can pass off to here and like there's just no way I'm getting that foot in, right? I can't do it like I just showed. So instead of that from here, I'm gonna hook his leg down here this way. And I don't have to have much of a hook, right? Like this is sufficient for now, okay? And what I'm gonna do from there now is I wanna pass this arm over to this side of his head, and eventually I'm gonna try to reach to this direction over here, okay? You see what's happening? So now I'm gonna tuck this back just like a regular omoplata. It's just reverse orientation. I've got his wrist behind my knee and calf in this position here, and this hand is coming up under his armpit. If we're in the gi, fantastic, because I can grip here. If not, you can try to grab the leg, or you can just plant the hand here, okay? Since we all have the pajamas on, let's go ahead and go from here this way, okay? It's a really gnarly way to do this reverse omoplata, this Kimura style like this here, because I'm driving his hand into the ground. So it's not free floating. So it's not just a shoulder rotation, it's compounded to the fact that I have his hand kind of stapled on the floor as I start to raise my hips. So again, this one's coming over deep into the armpit here. If I need this to help pull me up, I can do that, right? But this leg probably needs to be tucked back here, okay? So I'm hooking it first, then bringing it back here. We sit up, boom, that direction, okay? So again, we wind up here, this away, and he goes branch down, and like that thing that I showed first is just not happening for me for some reason, here this way. So I'm gonna hook here like this first, while I make the switch to this side of his head, and then when this one comes up, this hand shoots over here this way, okay? I'm gonna try to get under his arm. If it just doesn't happen that I get over his arm, he still has an arm inside here like this. It's not the end of the world, just go lower. And if you have the grips, you can use the grips, right? We go here, tuck the foot back, come up, okay? Does this make sense? Questions? No? Okay. The other thing that I would add, if, again, going back to like what is the benefit of the top leg being over? I can keep the arm isolated while I come through and try to hook his leg this way, right? And now I've isolated his hips a little better, so if we're gonna start attacking chokes, then that's a benefit of it. Another benefit of it too is if he's sliding down off of me a little bit, then I can use this to kind of help pick him back up. And in the other orientation, not always as available. This is a little tighter, and it helps to jack his shoulder up a little bit so that now I can get myself back underneath him and he doesn't slide out, okay? So, that's mostly just a tool or adjustment, and then we'll talk about the chokes on the other part of the body, but this is another way we can get into that Kimura, more like a reverse omoplata. Questions? It's so quiet in here. It's so weird. All right, let's go 1, 2, 3. But first, let's look at the upper body here a little bit. So again, I've captured, honestly, either leg tends to work. I think that for upper body submissions, meaning the ones that I'm using to attack from here, top leg tends to be better for some than others, and the bottom leg tends to be better for some than others. So I'm gonna go top leg for right now just because we haven't given enough love yet. And we'll look at like what can we do from here. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but obviously I feel like being able to open the collar from here and do different chokes. So simplest of these will be like a sliding collar choke. And a sliding collar choke being where I'm gonna come in 4 fingers inside the collar, I'm gonna peel it open, and then my hand's gonna release from here and go thumb inside. Some precision details about this, I don't want like a sock puppet grip. That's what that is. I want like a waving hand. So I'm opening, driving the snuff box to his throat, and then looping this over my thumb, and then using this hand to adjust and tighten like a zip tie, here, right? Then if I have access to the second lapel, we'll just adjust it like a necktie from here. I'm pulling my elbow back here, like I'm trying to do like a low roll, like pulling my elbow to my spine at that point, and then expanding the chest into him this way, okay? So that's a way to do that, right? Additionally, maybe I don't have the best access to that one, and we can go in for like kata hajime, right? So this is the single wing style choke, where I'm gonna go here, and this one's gonna come behind his head, right? When we do this one, this hand is trying to like spear hand toward the ceiling here. I'm going right down below that occipital ridge of his skull here like that, while this one again pulls back. So we go here, I pull, this way, okay? for that single wing style choke. So we have the sliding collar or we have the single wing, okay? Those should be fairly basic, right? You should learn those pretty early on in gi training, I feel like, as far as strangles with the gi. But let's get weird. So from here now, a really good choke, and we had this discussion last night, we were talking about, can you, in IBJJF regulations, can you use your belt to strangle someone? The answer is yes and no. Yes, as long as it's still tied, right? So I don't think this belt isn't necessarily long enough, but it's tied right now. So if it were long enough, I could theoretically wrap this around and strangle him with it, and it's still legal in competition, right? But let's say even if it's not, then from here, I'm in this position, and I have his arm isolated. So I'm gonna use his belt or his lapel here like this, if I can get it accessible, and I'm going to make this kind of sling wrap. So I'm gonna staple his arm in with his own gi here, right? I wanna try to get it tight enough to where he can't retract that arm out of it here. Once that's established, now this hand is freed up. So I can try to go back to the collar here, or I can use my own lapel here, this way, okay? And from that position here now, we can bring this around his head and use this lapel. This is referred to as the assassin choke here. Okay? Again, another Barrett Yoshida maybe invention, I don't know. So we can go thumb facing me, pinky away from me, that way, that orientation, and bring it around his head this direction. Or I can go thumb up here and bring it around his head this direction, if space allows, okay? That's gonna be gi dependent. I intentionally try to wear my gis a size a little bit too small, just so you have less to grab onto, right? But if you have enough length in this, you can come around, boom, this direction. Otherwise, you can bring it around this direction here, like that, okay? A very mean choke, because both his arms are trapped. It's a really horrible position. So again, we get in this position here. First choke that I was mentioning is, look, see, I'm already making a mistake. Like, that's not gonna get in deep enough. So it's better if I use this hand first to peel this open, get my thumb inside nice and deep, find that other side lapel if it's available, and then finish the sliding collar choke, right? If instead here, I'm like, it's not really available, we can go here, and I can go spear hand for that single wing choke, that direction, okay? If at that point, I feel like his lapel is accessible and I want to trap this arm so he has zero ability to be able to defend his neck other than just with his chin, which is a defense, just not a good one. And then I can get my lapel loose here this way, right? Bring it up around his head, finish this choke. If I have enough slack, don't think that's going to happen today, but if I have enough slack, we can go here and bring it around this direction and get that choke. Cool? Should be like 4 different chokes right there. Let's try them. 1, 2, 3. So let's talk about it. I prefer this, like if I can get to this style of top crucifix, like I would prefer that over almost any type of side control. With the exception maybe of like a case of Gatami. But yeah, I don't know, let's look at it. So if we're here, the whole thing is about how do we set this up? And it works well because like the second entry that we were talking about, where we're isolating the near arm and then the far arm, and we were talking about how we scrape up underneath. Well, what will happen sometimes, let's actually turn this way so just make sure you guys can kind of see this arm. What happens sometimes is if we get here and I've got here and I try to scrape that arm, but see, that's a pain, right? Like there's no way I'm getting under that. He's staying too tight to the side. So he's doing a good job of kind of monitoring. But he's still doing it with the intention of monitoring this frame in my hip. So I know that if he wants it there, then he's not going to be inclined to move it for me, right? He's going to be inclined to keep it there. So what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to keep my underhook on this side, but I want to grab and I want to secure his hand to my hip, right? It's like you want it there, we're gonna keep it there. Then I'm gonna start sprawling that to the floor here, okay? I wanna take this and I wanna staple it. Once I get it to the floor, I'm gonna staple it with my hand. And then I'm gonna take this knee and I wanna take it to his ribs, right? Like that. We go to the ribs first and then up over to staple, okay? I don't go straight in, because if I go straight in, it just goes across his forearm, he sucks his elbow in, he gets it free, right? But if instead we get here to the ribs and then up and over, right? So we're not moving linear like a rook or even diagonal like a bishop. We're doing like whatever, if there were a piece that would go like up 2 and then 1 over, or like 1 up and then like 2 over, and
A knife?
I'm just tossing out there. Okay, so we get here, all right? Yeah, knight moves, there we go, boom, like that, okay? So now I've got that staple on his bicep. So this is good, but it's not as good as if I use this leg, right? So we're gonna make a windshield wiper move. Why is it not as good? Because if he bridges right now, here, this has to happen, right? So that means that if I want to go back here and he bridges, then I've got to pull that out to base. So I lose some control. So once we get this stapled one like that, I want a windshield wiper here now. So now if he bridges, there's not really much of a bridge because this is up in line with his spine. You see, okay? Thank you, as I was about to say. So like, here, this is up in line with his spine, so it's preventing his bridge. I've got his bicep stapled with my shin here. I don't even necessarily have to keep much pressure on him now because he's so caged in, you see, right? I've got my underhook on this far side. Now, if we want to do even a better job of securing this kind of, because this, I would consider this a topside crucifix because I've got his arms both trapped and I'm going diagonally across the shoulder carriage, right? At this point here now, I'm gonna go to evangelist control, like that, okay? So like once I have that pinned down here like this, nobody likes this. And he can't really use his hands to grab and remove it, but I know that this is kind of a pressure sensor where if I push his head down and he doesn't like it, if I let go, he typically lifts his head up a little bit, right? So I like to push this down here, right? And so then when he goes to lift it up, I'm taking my knee over to the other side so I can get my leg under, you see, this way, okay? I'm basing on my head at this point here, and I still have his arm isolated on the far side. So now what can we do as far as submissions go? I'm glad you asked. I can take this one down and start trying to fish his arm up this way. I reach behind my butt to grab his tricep. I pull it in nice and tight here this way, stay on my head, lift that ankle, and then now we can start to look for that top reverse. I'm not completely sure, but I think this would be Ushiro Sankaku. I'm not sure, maybe. Ushiro, yeah, okay. So when we're here, we get all the way to here, right? I press, try to get that underneath, right? You swivel, scrape, find that tricep. If he's got the gi, it makes it that much easier. Here, this way, right? Lift the foot, connect here, and then squeeze, right? So that's one submission. I think that's one of the best submissions from this position. We also have ways to isolate the arm on this side, especially for kimuras. But you want to go ahead and see the kimura so we can practice both, or just stick to the triangle, then come back for the kimura? Got it, okay. So let's go for this triangle first. So one more time through the steps. We're gonna start from here. I'm assuming we're making the assumption I've already isolated this arm. If you need a refresher of how we did that before, it's just kind of the same basic thing. If he's framing in my neck, here like this, we can punch through, go this way, right? I'm gonna drop my head inside. I like to go like big nose cover like this here, this way, so that I can pry my head down and then start to isolate that arm. I'm gonna take this hand in the hip, press it to the floor with my hip like that. And then 1, 2, windshield wiper. This leg goes in line with his spine above his head, right? You don't have to do evangelist control. It's just, 1, it's funny, and 2, it's effective, right? But I can probably go here, and even if he wants his head to stay down, right? It's really hard for him to stop me from at least getting underneath, Right? I just like the forehead control method of it. There, start to scrape under. I find his tricep, or at least a grip, pull in nice and tight this way, staying posted on my head. Raise the leg under his head, so I'm raising his head with it. Slide underneath, make the connection, and then we get the triangle. Okay, cool. Let's go, 1, 2, 3. Like a way to set the Kimura up while we have that. So whether you have the triangle configuration or you just still have the shin staple in post, either way we can get to the Kimura like this. So let's see, yes sir. Yeah, this is good. So I'm just gonna kind of like teleport through the numbers here. Right, so I have the underhook still, right? I get underneath here this way, right? I try to scrape this up, boom. It's just not happening for me because maybe he's keeping his arm away, something, he knows what's up. Like, so MMA, punch him behind your butt, right? That's called the Mike Pyle special. Mike Pyle, like, I'd never seen anybody do that before, and apparently a lot of people hadn't seen anybody do that before exactly like that, like back in the day. And Mike got several people there from WEC. Is it WEC, right? Yeah. And then he was doing that in WEC, and then whenever he went over to UFC, he was hitting it there too. And so if you look at BJ Penn's old MMA book, like the whatever it was called, the Mixed Martial Arts by BJ Penn or whatever, he even calls that in his book the Mike Pyle special, which I thought was really cool because Mike was a buddy of mine. Anyway, none of that matters, but we get here like this, and I'm just not getting that, and I can't punch him in the face because it's jiu-jitsu. Then from here, if I want to set up the Kimura, I can do it really sloppily where I just come up here and I'm like, all right, hold still while I did this. I think what's better is if I keep my head on the floor, I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to slide it under and I'm going to grab his bicep close to his elbow. Okay. Once I do that, I'm going to pull it like up this way until his elbow's on the other side of my head. Right. Now, while I'm still on my head, I can come here and I can find his wrist this way. And from that position now, like I drop my elbow, and I'm gonna roll to my right hip, back up, and then shoot through to this position. Okay? Does that make sense? I think with that order of operation keeps things segmented and secured the whole time pretty well. So from here, I'm pulling under and I'm gonna grab and pull his elbow up a little higher. I'm gonna find his wrist here, drop my elbow, start to pick up and roll to my side, and then shoot through to get the full connection. That way, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Yep. All right, now, because we're getting a little constrained on time, so that's there. We already have the whole setup. It's just like the extra little fundamentals to get the Kimura from that position. But I also wanted to show, like I've got several of these honorable mentions that I now want to throw out. But I wanted to show a triangle setup I like a whole lot from that is like tangentially related to the Crucifix, but it's a similar entry. So if we go back to turtle, we're gonna rewind all the way back to turtle position. Now, from here, we're gonna do a similar entry where my knee comes in, here this way, right? But the modifications we're gonna make at this point though are, I'm not going to try to just isolate the near side arm. I'm gonna get a little greedier, right? So this hand here, rather than just securing on the arm, we're gonna go in here for like this kind of like power half. Would that be like a power half? Yeah, okay. So it's like a power half here this way. And I'm gonna step the rest of the way over here this way. When I step over, this hand is gonna catch like this, okay? Once that catches here, I'm gonna start sitting back this direction, right? At that point here now, like I'm gonna keep this connection where, see how my heel's touching my knee? And we're gonna use this kind of like a hacky sack, where I lift up his elbow so I can get a hold of his wrist or a hold of the sleeve. I wanna pull it nice and tight and secure here until my calf comes behind his tricep. Yeah, it's pretty tight. Sorry. So, one more time here. Go in here. So the knee sliding through is a similar feature to how we set up the original Crucifix, right? But instead of just going here and coming this way, I want to hike and create space. So I'm depressing down on the back of his neck, and I'm hiking up that shoulder. I'm gonna throw this leg over and catch here, okay? As we sit back, I'm trying to touch my left heel and my right knee, right? So we go back in this direction, okay? And then that gives me the ability to raise that elbow enough to try to catch his wrist or sleeve. I wanna pull that nice and tight across so that now whenever I connect, here 1, 2, my calf goes behind his tricep and squeeze that way, okay? I know it's very tight, so I wasn't trying to hang on there too long. But we get here, this calf is behind his tricep, still controlling his near side arm, like that, and then squeeze from there, okay? Make sense? Okay, any questions? All right, so we got the Kimura from that top side crucifix, and then we have this probably Gyaku triangle, right? Gyaku, Shiro, something triangle. Let's go, 1, 2, 3.